come with the time to rebuild and restore. Where freedom rise and truth prevails, our land where there's hope for us all. Our land where there's hope for us all. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for generations to come. And for generations to come. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.
Yes, sir. Good morning. You are still listening to Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and official radio of the Anglican Diocese of Lagos. It's Thursday, the 21st day of October, 2021. And it's 6 minutes gone past the hour of 10. And you are on the State of the Nation, our political program. I am Anosike Chimezie. And yes, we'll be looking at a very interesting topic. 1 year after the EndSARS, what has changed? You can remember that sometime last year, yes, maybe by this time last year, it was all fireworks in the streets of Lagos and across the nation. Yes, a good example was the building close to the studio here, the MPA building. As at this time last year, it was currently in flames. And yes, there were a lot of looting going on in various shopping malls in Lagos and also across the nation. And it alleged fears in the lives of the citizens. Even the governments were not spared. Yes, the forensic building at the back of the studio here was at this time presently on fire. Now, and we are asking the question, 1 year after the EndSARS protest, what has changed? There was a protest yesterday to commemorate the 1 year anniversary of those that were allegedly killed. Yes, why I use that word? You will know why I use that word. Those that were allegedly killed at the Lekki toll gate. Yes, yesterday was the 1 year anniversary. and there was a protest at that toll gate. And to join me in the studio to look at this is Oluwatobi Phillips. Oluwatobi, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Achimeze. Good morning, all our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here again to discuss a major, dialogue regarding the political evolution that is sweeping our nation. It's something very fundamental and it can't be taken lightly. So it's a pleasure to discuss on it.
Yes, it's always a pleasure. And with that pleasure, I will urge you to download the app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's Lagoon Radio Nigeria. And then Instagram, Lagoonradio.Ng. And on Facebook, of course, we are live. We are streaming live. And to listen to us directly via the link, www.LagoonRadio.Ng. Yes, let's get into the business. Now, yesterday was the complete 1 year anniversary of that alleged Lekki massacre.
It's 1 year already.
Yes, and which brought an end to that movement of the EndSARS. And looking at that, the way it started and the way it ended, 1 year after, what has really changed?
What has changed is actually vital for every youth. That I think that's the most important aspect as far as the discussion and dialogue on it is concerned. What has changed is the fact that more than ever, there is emancipation of young people, and is a very, very, very key factor in the direction of the country's political system and democracy. I think it is clear, it's very glaring that youth are now more than ever politically aware, which is something that has been lacking for the major part of this, I think it's Fourth Republic we are in now. Before time, we've seen our elections have been marred, our political climate has been marred by massive young people's appetite. Political apathy, they are not interested in what the political class are doing, and so the political class always have their way and their say. But the EndSARS protest was a form of awakening, not just for the youth, for the nation, because yes, the political class has ridden on the fact that youths were not interested, and so they always, do things the way they want it. But for the first time, and that is why everybody, even not just the Nigerian thing, it became a global movement all across the Western world. It's for a good part of the entire time, it trended as a number one, conversation on the social media. So it really caught the entire attention of the world, and I think that is an important thing to look at as far as the impact of the protest is concerned. It's so lovely that even from it, we have political movements springing up, in anticipation for the elections, that are coming, especially the 2023 election. We need young minds. We need young intellects, in our political system that will bring the proper innovation and take Nigeria from the present level it is to competing, among the League of Nations is very, very important, because Nigeria is blessed. Nigeria is massively blessed in terms of intellectual capacity, and of course, mineral resources cannot be overemphasized. So we need the minds that would actually, explore and exploit those resources appropriately and create the wealth that we have, for a long time proclaimed that is not yet seen, but everybody believes that Nigeria is a very wealthy nation, even though as of right now, that's not the case, because we are allegedly the poverty capital of the world because of the gross mismanagement that has swept our political climate. So on that aspect, the level of awareness among young people is a very, very important, part of what the protest has brought upon us. But regarding the government, I think the response has been mixed, because I think, in fairness to the government, there has been good response, as directly impacted by the protest, regarding the compensation of mostly victims, both public servants, that's the police officers that are victims of the protests, and of course Nigerian citizens that were victims of. A lot of them, I was looking at reports from the judicial panel, especially for Lagos State, and they said they've treated over 100 cases already, and of course some, because of time, they couldn't adjudicate on, and of course we would pass them over to the government. But I think it's commendable that, to a great extent, some things have been, done, and the right things have been meted out to the victims, even though there are still people that are yet to be touched. So on that aspect, I think we should commend the government. Is something laudable. But where the real question still holds is the aspect of the police force.
I was about coming to that.
Is the aspect of the police force, and that is what has not changed.
Okay.
Because, of course, it was very glaring yesterday, the brute force that was still applied to. It's not just protesters, as was clearly reported yesterday. Not even reported. We were seeing some of it live. How members of the media houses were actually harassed by the police officers, and some even arrested. I don't know, but I think some of them have been released already. But it shows the incongruent and incoherent manner the police force is being administered. It's a sad thing, and the truth is, the way forward for the police is not just about what the protest sort of agitated for regarding the welfare of the police force. I think the major problem we have, which is unfortunately is what this particular IPC government rode on to come into power, and that is what's the popular word now?
Protest.
No, sort of amending majorly how the country has been run. I can't remember the word.
Restructuring.
Restructuring, thank you. What we need is a restructured system, because the system on which the police force is meant to be the major security outfit is wrong. It's wrong. It's a wrong thing for us. The police force should be essentially communal based. It should be community based before you now go to the national level. But what we have is a police force that is simply a national police force. Like the state governor is supposed to be the chief security officer of the state, but it doesn't directly give instruction to the commissioner of police. The commissioner of police take instruction directly from the IGP. So it's a major issue. It's a fundamental issue as far as the police administration is concerned, and it's not just the police, and that's why there is serious clamor for political restructuring across board. Until we get that right, we will still be struggling as far as our democracy is concerned, and that is why I said the most important part of this whole movement is the youth awareness, because the Police Act, for instance, was amended last year, even before the protest. But still, we've not seen any major impact of the change in the act or the amendment in the act. So it goes back to tell us that restructuring is what is needed. We need a police force that is community based. It is wrong for you to be arrested in maybe Marina here, and then you are taken to probably Ikeja, for the administration of justice. whatever you done wrong should be treated in the same community. And of course, there is so much in terms of the disparity of the administration of justice, and we can only progress towards doing the right thing when we take it from the communal level. And that is why it's important that the young political movement is taking over the place, because by the time we have more young people, more young minds coming into the system, we have properly thought through, laws that will make sure that things are well structured. And I think as far as the change is concerned, regarding the real issue, there's been no change.
Okay. Now, when we talk about change, now let's take a breakdown of what happened. 36 states, out of 36 states, 28 states set up panel of inquiries. And out of that 28, 11 have submitted their reports. And we are talking about what has changed. 28 out of 36 set up. Yes, the brutality for me might not be round the country, because if you have stayed in the north, you will notice that there is not there is no high presence of SARS on the road, or there was no high presence of SARS on the road, especially in the northern states, except for Abuja and some of the mega cities. Now, out of 36 states, 28 set up a panel of inquiry, and out of that 28, 11 has submitted their reports. Now, it will take us back to the governance. It started as End Police Brutality, and before it was the acronym End SARS came upon. And from SARS, we were moving closer to End Bad Government, End Bad Governance. Now, talking about governance, has anything changed since that 1 year? Have the politicians, did they learn their lessons? Or the citizens, have they learned any lesson since after that 1 year of the End SARS?
The sad part of the development is the fact that I think the End Bad Governance narrative was probably what the government didn't meet well, and hence the way things developed at the end of the event. Because I saw, I think 2 times, I saw the president claiming, I believe he's ill advised, that the End SARS movement was a movement directed at dethroning him as the president, which is very, very wrong. But it shows us how there is a great deal of miscommunication between the citizenry and the government. And I think something worth noting is the poor level of advisory the presidency gets. It's sad to hear the president coming with such a pronouncement that the protest was engendered towards dethroning him. No, the movement was clear that there is so much injustice, there is so much inequity across board, and the government needs to do better in terms of accountability and the application of fundamental human rights, which is a major issue with the police force. Sometimes ago, earlier this year, we saw the report of one of these big brother Nigeria's star claiming the EFCC, forcefully broke into the apartment while they were sleeping. Things that are so unprofessional are what we hear about our force unit, and it just shows that the level of training received by these institutions is poor. And what governance is about is making sure that these institutions are properly constituted. I heard of how almost every part of UK that you have to deal, professionally, they will read the legal acts that guides, the conversation. And even online, we all see whenever we want to go, there is a privacy policy, that you need to agree with before you go on. the fact that the legal system, guides everything we do. And that's what governance is about. You make sure that everybody is well informed of his rights. And at no time is anybody's right breached. That's what government should look, at doing, that there is enough transparency and accountability that everybody knows that the government is there for the people and not some, elite interest. No. Unfortunately, from the body signal of the presidency, I think there's nothing to look forward to as far as improvement is concerned. The level of governance is not good enough, and it must be called out.
Okay. And also yesterday, something happened in an interview or in a press conference. The Minister for Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, speaking on the first of all, with the interview, he started with acknowledging the policemen that were killed during the SARS, the destruction, and the rest of them. And he never, in some way, acknowledged that some people were killed. Then, in a press conference, he said, and he demanded apology from Amnesty International and the CNN, the news broadcast, the foreign news broadcast CNN, for the documentary they released. Now, Amnesty International said that 12 people were killed at the spot at Lekki Toll Gate. But the Minister of Information was saying that there were no evidence, or there is no evidence to say that there was a massacre, let alone that people were killed at Lekki Toll Gate. So that will bring me to another question. And it's like there is still this disconnection between the government and the people. And we saw the clips, we saw what happened, every one of us, even those that were on ground. So now, why is the government still saying that nothing as such happened? And we are still asking the question, who gave the order?
It's a very tricky one, I must admit. But the truth is, when it comes to legal things, you deal with empirical facts and not allegations, suggestions. The truth is, there is little to rely on as far as facts and evidences are concerned. Yes, we have people that have come out confirming that they were injured at the protest ground, and I think maybe one or two reported dead cases. But to the level of massacre, the reality is there is no empirical evidence. So it's difficult to, slay the government on, the actions of our military on the ground. That's as far as that goes. It's left for the NGOs that made the claim to, come up with the evidence eventually to make sure that there's nothing. There's nothing. The government cannot hide under the guise of anything to discredit the reports. So as far as that goes, the reality is the law works on, evidence, and there is no evidence as far as up to this time, and that's part of what the judicial, judicial panel were set up for, to actually, investigate and review the cases. And I think you confirmed that about 11 of the panels have submitted their reports. So we'll wait on the revelation from their report to, because we must work with facts, not allegations and all it. So that's as far as it is regarding the conversation.
Okay, you're still listening to State of the National Political Program on Lagoon Radio, and we are discussing 1 year after the NSAS, what has changed. Yes, Oluwatobi is still here. We'll go on this short break. When we come back, it will be time for more. Keep listening to us.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.
Yes, you're still on to State of the National Political Program on Lagoon Radio, and you're welcome back. It's still 1 year after the NSAS movement. What has really changed? Yes, remember to join the conversation, you can download our app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Instagram, Lagoon Radio NG. Yes, and if you want to make your contributions live directly in the studio, you can just call the number 08189 524 08189 Yes, that's the studio line. And yes, Oluwatobi is still here. Now, looking at even what happened yesterday, and when we talk about after the NSAS, the government promised, they made a lot of promises. One, which was to set a judicial panel of inquiry, which some states did. And there we are, they disbanded the SAS. But something happened last month. In fact, I was in Abia State. There was a massive traffic. Now, getting to the point, to the end point of the traffic, I discovered that students of Abia State Polytechnic were protesting. What were they protesting for? They said that members of the police came into the hostel and raped some students in the night. And last week we saw in Kogi State some commuters. A boy was maltreated by the police, and he was led to the POS point where he withdrew some amount close to 25,000 naira, which police promised to investigate. Now, 1 year after all this, the police brutality is still on. Then the government promised reorientation and education of the police, which the protesters called for. From the look of things and what is still going on, have the government in any way engaged in reorientation and education of the police?
The truth is, I've seen certain signals, but they are sort of cosmetic ones as far as reorientation of the police force is concerned. And to be honest, whatever they do nationally, without a restructured approach, is going to be cosmetic. The only way to have a police force that is working, just like the entire political structure, is to restructure. We can't run away from that conversation and argument. It is not right that we have a police force that the system, the bureaucratic system, is so far away apart. The IGP right there in Abuja is the one giving direct instruction to as far down to the commissioner, and there are 36 states in the country, all answering to the IGP directly. It's not good enough. We need a communal policing system that every community and the police force are so together that the harmony will be there. It's sad when we see a police force that is far apart the people. There is nothing wrong with a child, seeing a police officer and being full of admiration, because the way they are presented is, is so beautiful, it's so lovely, it's so commendable. But that is not the case with our police force. For instance, what's it called? The allegation you mentioned of the police, although there are instances that the government will argue that these are not even policemen. They are people probably taking on the uniform and impersonating the policemen. But it is easier to trace them when we have a communal police system, like everybody, you will know who the police officers in your community is. Not one that you commit a crime and you are taken to another, police division that you have no idea, who those people are. And even the police, ZDP or whatever it's called, will know almost everybody in the community. That is the way we can run a proper police structure. And not just that, even to the level of, the governance. An average person in a local government do not know their what's it called? Their local government chairman. They don't know their councillors. The only people they know is the governor and the presidency. Why? Because those are the people that the focus is on. They don't know the members of the parliament. And those are the people that they should readily know, because these are the people that they can easily have direct contact with. So, until we have a political structure that puts so much focus on the community level, we are going to continue, running a system that is bound to fail. The system that can work for us, because naturally as Africans we are community people. Everybody know each other, and that is why before the colonial masters came, we had a very flourishing, life of living standard. The crime rate was not there, but today, because of the pervasive system that we have, which is not working. There is so much, criminality everywhere, and is a high-handed system that supports all the value systems that are not African in every level of thinking. So we need a movement, a structure that is community-based. That is the only, as far as I'm concerned, that is the only way I feel we can, set up our police force. That, in fact, it's not impossible that by the time we structure properly, people can even see, physically the kind of training. They can have a tour to see the kind of training that our police force receive, the kind of training that our military receive, and right from, adolescent age, you can look and admire the service these people, have to give you. And because right now, if you ask an average child if he would like to be a police or any of the force, except the force that is well paid or duly remunerated, it's almost impossible to see anybody being interested in joining the police force. And is a force that should hold so much value, so much dignity and honor, that everybody should admire them. One of the, apart from the teaching group, which is very fundamental in our development as a people, the police force and other security agencies are essential to our living, because without good security, we cannot aspire to, run by our daily economic activities. It's going to be difficult. Just as we have, in fact, that's why everything is so expensive now. Food is very expensive because there is serious insecurity in the north. So if we don't restructure and set things the way it should be, we'll continue to struggle. I can't believe the cost, the level of inflation currently rocking our economy right now. It is unbelievable. And it's because we are not approaching things the right way. So, from my own perspective, the only way to put our policing properly is to restructure and bring it to a communal level. Before you can talk about having going to a state level in policing, national level in policing, that means it's a major issue. But basic, policing should be done at the community level. I would even take you to the Bible for example. Moses was having a serious struggle, engaging his mandate as a leader of the Israeli nation when they were, going through the wilderness. And why? Because almost every decision was taken by Moses directly. Thank God his father-in-law came, Jethro, and he looked at David and Moses and told him, "Do you want to die before your time? why are you answering all these people on your own? Appoint leaders to them, on a basic, on simple levels, from their tens to their hundreds to their thousands. Let them bring only the most important issue that they cannot handle themselves to you. That's how to run things." Of course, we saw how frustrated Moses got with handling that. He because of it, he himself couldn't make the promised land. So it's very, very important that we understand that we build up system. You don't just take the head, but every aspect of the system is important and must be properly governed for you to develop appropriately.
And now, talking about the system, now, the sole burden lies on the federal government as this matter stands. Now, there's been a lot of accusations on this present government. Let's take, we were discussing yesterday after watching what was happening at Lekki Toll Gate. And this government, they came on the mantra of they used protest and the rest of them. And like you said, they came on the mantra of restructuring. Then a friend of mine told me that no, that the basic agenda of this government has been achieved, which was take away Jonathan. By every means, change Jonathan, that they have gotten to their peak. Now, and there have been a lot of accusations on human rights and rule of law. Do you still believe that this government, let's look forward now. Like presently now in Abuja now, there is a trial going on of the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Currently, the security men, they have barricaded the courtroom. In fact, they accredited some lawyers that will go in. And some of them, as at 9:30, some of them were unable to go in. And there was accusation on ground there that this government, they don't have respect for rule of law. Now, looking forward, human rights, the Amnesty they are saying another thing. The Minister of Information is saying another thing. Now, looking at rule of law and human rights under this government, how will you place this government on human rights and rule of law?
The whole body language and actually things that we've seen has done little to vindicate the government as far as the application of rule of law is concerned. Of course, we know how the leader of the proscribed group, IPOB, Kanu, was allegedly, bundled down to the country. It's case of disrespect to the rule of law and abuse of rights. It's not just in Kanu, even the Sunday Igboho case. We saw evidence of how his home was seriously, vandalized in an attempt to arrest him. All the signals that we get from the government shows strong disregard to the rule of law, and of course, even what's it called? I'm sure up to now you can't access Twitter.
Yes,
exactly. So the government could have basically, have a conversation with the team of Twitter without banning the platform, but they took the fundamental right of every Nigerian citizen away by banning Twitter.
But the president on his broadcast the other day, Independence broadcast, he said he has given order for the ban on Twitter to be lifted.
When I saw his comment or his remark, I was disappointed. And that is because, and my disappointment is a deep one, because you are coming out to make a pronouncement after more than about 3 months of discussion, supposed discussion with the Twitter team, only for you to come out and tell us that upon meeting the certain conditions. To me, I found that very appalling, because I asked myself the question, what have you been doing for 3 months? in conversation with these people that you've not been able to agree, and then you are still coming to us to tell you when they meet conditions that in reality it's not even within Twitter's place to meet the conditions, because these are basically national concern, and Twitter holds very little to play in as far as making those things achievable. So it bothers me to see that we don't seem to have a government that is credible. I think if I would put it lightly, because on every side there is a strong display of lack of regard for fundamental rights, and as far as rule of law is concerned, the government only oblige those things that are in their favor, as seen on every actions they take. But as far as the things that concerns the general populace is concerned, I think they turn blind eye. Like, why can't they make what's it called? Because this is, and all the movement of the federal government has continually deepened and enhanced agitation for cessation, and more than ever they are supposed to show as much transparency as possible. But the way they've handled the Nnamdi Kanu case has been so bad, because this is an opportunity for you to show not just Nigerians but to the world that you are as transparent as possible in matters concerning and you've even made very, very serious allegations against him. And so it is only proper that everybody sees clearly that the federal government is interested in respecting the rule of law and, of course, the fundamental rights of Kanu. But just like the every part of our political system is, the government has done little to convince us that they respect our rights as a people.
Okay, now looking at the hope for the nation. Yes, 1 year after the EndSARS, the youths, they spoke with one voice. And it was as if they were heading somewhere before the unfortunate end to that. Now, looking at the young generation of Nigerians, 2023 is around the corner. And for me, after so much noise, yes, last year, 2023, we have seen the old men, we call them the old men, the likes of them. Yes, we've seen Tinubu. One way, the Swagger movement was launched, which is for his presidential bid. And rumors are linking still the present politicians are being linked. And no youth at heart, or the current youths that led the protest, none have been seen on the face of any political party. Now, what's the hope for the Nigerian youth?
Like I said at the beginning of this conversation, the real change that the protest brought about is the emancipation of young people.
Okay.
And I think it's something that should delight everybody that desires a better Nigeria, because unlike before, the young people has been sort of alienated from the political system, and so right now we have young political parties springing up. But much more than that, I think personally I don't recommend that we focus too much as young people on the presidency, because we need a total revamp of the system, and the presidency is just one of the the larger system. And so I believe if every other part of the system are well structured, the presidency would be the least of our worries. I give you an example. Because of the system, the well-structured manner United States is, if Trump was the Nigerian president last election that he lost, he would still be the president today. But because the system is right, the system is well established, Trump was ousted. So it's about the system. And that is why I would encourage young people to look away from the presidency. of course, there are people that are still young at heart, and even in the age that are young, that of course one can look forward to seeing run for the president. We talk of the likes of Mogalu. I think so far so good. Mogalu is the youngest person that I've seen. And he's a very, very sound, and he's a good technocrat. So far so good. Outside of him, I'm not sure I've seen any credible or desirable young person. But talking about the general outlook for the young person, what I would recommend is for young people to focus more on the community level. Let us infiltrate the councillor area, the chairmanship, and most importantly, the parliament. And that's why I would highly commend someone like Bankole Wellington, Banky W, because he has made it clear that he's still going to run for the parliament again. And that's what we need. We need laws that are relatable, laws that are contemporary, not the archaic law that we have at the moment. And the current ones that are there would not bring the right law in place because the current system favors them. They're enjoying from it, and so they would barely make laws that will right the present, disoriented system that we have. But when young people are willing and ready to infiltrate the parliament, and the beauty is, I tell you, if you have a well-emancipated young people movement, they will win every election. Because according to the statistics of INEC, more than 50% of the electorate are young people. And it's a very, very interesting statistic. So, and that's why I can't blame someone like Showore, because he banked on that statistics to campaign for his presidential ambition. He believed that if the young people had voted, that he would have won the election landslide. And that's the truth. Even though, as at that time, it was not in play because young people were not really interested in but the protests are shown as being a form of awakening for young people. And the beauty is, as much as possible, we should sensitize young people to understand the power that we hold. Because the reality is, if the youth come out to vote, they will determine the president of Nigeria. And if we have that much power, I think we can use it well, if we are well guided. In fact, it is so beautiful that, considering that knowledge, and we have a right youth movement, the political class, whether young or not, will start, tilting towards the interest, because they know that if they don't meet the interest of the young people, they will not win the election. So they would come down more to listen to the voice of the young people if they will still remain in power. So if young people can get this knowledge and we have a proper, emancipation of young people, I think will be better for it. So I want to encourage all the political players, especially the young political players, to go on massive, mass emancipation, mass sensitization of Nigerian people, especially directing the focus to the youth. The class that what's it called? The political class have been using to win the election. They are aging, and the beauty is they are not readily replaced. Unlike the young people that the more people are giving birth to, the more they are properly educated and have the understanding of what they want, and that population continues to grow compared to the aged generation. So the direction of our political system is going to be built on the young people, and they must be well sensitized for us to achieve the right direction we desire for Nigeria.
Okay, and finally, in 20 seconds, do you think that the youths will make a move come 2023?
Well, we have two sets of youth. There may be more that I'm not really bringing into perspective here, but two sets of youth that I've noticed. There is one set that they've given up on the system, and the only thought is to run away from the country. I think they've used the slogan "Japa" as something that is trending now. And there is the other youths that rather than giving up, they are willing and actively, becoming part of the political process. Like earlier this year, a lot of young people actually registered with the political parties when they opened their, membership application, and a good number of young people became part of the process. So more and more, we need to see things like that, especially, and to be honest with you, even though I cannot dismiss the aspect of small political parties that will give the young people, playing ground, I think because of the structure we have right now, what I would recommend is having young people infiltrating the big political parties. Because right now, they are the ones that have the platform to easily, have a major say in elections. And I think it's even easier and faster to affect the polity when those parties are infiltrated by young people. And gradually, young people can take over how the parties are run. I think that's what I would recommend going forward.
Okay, you've heard it all, and that was Oluwatobi Phillips on the program. Thank you for coming on the program, and we hope to see you when next we'll call on you.
My pleasure, very much.
Okay, yes, and that's the size of our package this morning. Thanks to you for listening and tuning into the program, and thanks to our producer Oluwaseyi Ajedi for pressing the right buttons. And we'll be back again next Thursday with another interesting topic. Keep listening to us, but don't forget to download our app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Instagram, Lagoonradio.Ng. I am Manosike Chimezie. Do have a lovely day.
Have a lovely day.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.